Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari.
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana.
Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Haribol, thank you so much, Taraka Prabhu. Thank you. It just it makes me feel very safe and welcome. So let me ask for the blessings before we begin class. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Devamrita Swami Dinamine Pachari Pava Daksham Cha Bhaktachara Pravinata Paratata Karuni Yasya Sari Chate Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashyata Deshatayini. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19, The Island of Jambudvip, verse 15. Tanha Prabhu Tvam Kukalevarappitam Tvan Mayayaham Mamantam Adokshaja Bindyama Yenasuvayam Sudurbidam Viteri Yogam Tvainaha Svabhavam Iti Tanna Prabhu Tvam Kukalevarampitam Tvan Mayayaham Mamatam Adoshakja Vindyama Yena Shuvayam Sudurbidam Videhi Yogam Tvayitnahas Vabhavam Iti. Forgive me. Tat, therefore, word for word translation. Tat, therefore, naha, our, Prabhu, O my Lord, tvam, you, ku kalivara arpitam, invested in this bad body full of stool and urine, tvat maya, by your illusory energy, aham mamat kam, the conception of I and my, adhokshaja, O transcendence, Bindyama, may give up, Yena, by which, Ashu, very soon, Vayam, we, Sudurbidam, which is very difficult to give up, Vidhehi, please give, Yogam, the mystic process, Tav ye unto you, Naha, our Svabhavam, which is symptomized by a steady mind, iti, thus. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Therefore, O Lord, O Transcendence, kindly help us by giving us the power to execute Bhakti Yoga so that we can control our restless minds and fix them upon you. We are all infected by your illusory energy. Therefore, we are very attached to the body, which is full of stool and urine, and to anything related with the body. Except for devotional service, there is no way to give up this attachment. Therefore, kindly bestow upon us this benediction. Purport. The Lord advises in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. The perfect yoga system consists of always thinking of Krishna, always engaging in devotional service, always worshiping Krishna, and always offering obeisances unto him. Unless we practice this yoga system, our illusory attachment for this bad body, which is full of stool and urine, is impossible to give up. The perfection of yoga consists of giving up attachment for this body and bodily relationships and transferring that attachment to Krishna. We are very attached to material enjoyment, but when we transfer that same attachment to Krishna, we traverse the path of liberation. One has to practice this yoga system and none other. Om Mankyana Timrandasya Nanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunvatanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Pandantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raguna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Svavitam Sarutam Vijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakapatarubhyascha Vipasindhubhyo evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So yesterday Das Prabhu spoke to us about the importance of striving to advance in Krishna consciousness through devotional service to the Lord. And when we read the verse 14, I was thinking, when it said, so if a person engaged in Krishna consciousness, however, is also afraid of giving up his body, what is the use of his having labored to study the sastras? It was simply a waste of time. And I was thinking, well, how could you be engaged in Krishna consciousness and still be wasting your time? And in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, I think it's verses 5 and 6, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, and he does say that, we have to liberate ourselves through our mind, and that the uncontrolled mind, the restless and uncontrolled mind, can be our worst enemy. The controlled mind fixed upon Krishna is our dearest and best friend. But the uncontrolled mind, when it's just restless and wandering all over the place, it's our worst enemy. And with that, I thought, so when we are engaged in Krishna consciousness, in the association of devotees, practicing the four regulative principles, what are the things that still have my mind being restless and uncontrolled? And it's much like we have a gross body and a subtle body. It's the subtle things. It's attachment to even the good things. It's thinking, this is my service. It's this is my thing. I make really wonderful garlands, and then someone is brought along and they say, well, work with them, teach them, this is going to become their service. And if in my mind I'm thinking and criticizing, oh, that's not how I would do it. I don't know how that could be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, or how that could be pleasing to the deities, this garland that you made. Those really quiet, subtle, sneaky things that happen inside of us that become obstacles to our devotional service. And so when we get to the 15th verse, we're thinking about being in devotional service, being in Krishna consciousness, and that while this may seem like a very simple process, we chant our rounds, we associate with devotees, we practice the regulative principles, we practice our service. It's not an easy one. It's not an easy process, and it is impossible to do alone and unaided by my own willpower, by me thinking that I know what I'm doing and advancing myself in Krishna consciousness. And I think that's why verse 15 begins with a prayer, entreating the Lord to bless us with the power to execute bhakti yoga, so that the dust of illusion is cleansed from our hearts and our restless minds are steady, and we can begin in time to fix our hearts and minds on worshiping and offering devotional service to Krishna. Impossible without this benediction. So then I thought, well, when I ask for this, when I say, well, I'm asking for this benediction, or to be given the power to execute bhakti yoga so that I can control my restless mind and fix it upon Krishna, what am I actually asking for? What is actually bhakti yoga? What is this thing I'm asking to execute? So I'm asking basically, and by basically, I don't mean like simply, I mean basically like foundationally. So like in the military, when you do basic training, it doesn't mean the thing you do when you first come in and you forget about all the things you learn, because now I'm a soldier. It means that these are the foundational pieces that are always there, that you're practicing and building on every single day, because everything else rests on that. So I am asking Krishna to allow me to connect with him by developing my dedication to, service to, and love for him. And I'm asking him to help me find sweetness and consistency in chanting the holy name, in adhering to the regulative principles, in serving my spiritual master. I'm asking him to help me find joy and consistency in studying the sacred text, in honoring and distributing prasadam. I'm asking him to help me be harmonious and joyful in associating with and caring for the devotees, and to find and develop ways and means to carry out Srila Prabhupada's mission to bring Krishna consciousness in some way, in some small way, to everyone that I encounter. So obviously, I cannot adopt these practices consistently or successfully if I am still clinging in any way to the bodily concept of I and mine. And the only way that I can be relieved of that bondage is to cling to the lotus feet of the Lord, is to follow the instructions of my spiritual master, is to stay in the association of the devotees. So, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, which is titled the most confidential knowledge, verse 34, reads, Mamana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namasku mam evayashi yuktvaivam atmanam atparanyanaha. And the translation is, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And the first sentence of the purport reads, in this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. All right, Krishna. So, that being the case, how then do I assure and ensure that I am advancing and growing my bhakti kripa? Well, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, the perfect renunciation, verse 37, reads, Yataragre visham eva harinamim yutopanam pamam tatsukam satvikam pratkam atmabudhi prasadacham. In the translation, that which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. And the purport reads, in the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and the senses and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison, but if one is successful in following the regulations and comes to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar and he enjoys life. So first, we as devotees practice cleanliness and austerity through the regulative principles. We do not consume dead flesh, nor intoxicating substances, and we do not engage in illicit sexual activity. Also, we dress modestly, attempt to live peacefully, and to practice austerity of speech. Why? Well, because we know that the bodies we inhabit are not our own. They're not our property to do with as we will. Every living jiva is a part and parcel of Krishna. And also, we don't reside in these bodies alone. Paramatma, the Lord in the heart, is always with us. In the Holy Bible, Paul the Apostle alluded to this in 1 Corinthians 6, 19, 20, and he wrote, don't you realize that the body is a sacred place because the Holy Spirit lives there? You cannot live however you please. The physical body is not property that belongs to the spirit soul. Every part of you belongs to God. Let people perceive God in and through your body. So, basics, foundational peace. Second, we practice truthfulness through the regulative principle of not gambling. A gambler's mentality is a cheater's mentality. It's wanting to make the least possible effort and still expect the most and greatest gains. It's a mindset that expects something for nothing. It's a mindset that depends on its own speculation and willpower. So it is for us to remember that as devotees, we are a living example of the teachings in all of the Shastras. And when people see us, we may be the only representative that they see of the teachings in all the Shastras, of the literary incarnation of Krishna. So we're the representatives of the results of a life of devotion and service to the Lord. And we want to be honest. We want to be fair. We want to be equipoised. We want to be hardworking. And we want to be joyful. Third, as Vaishnavas, if we are truly trying to keep our minds calm, focused on Krishna, and fixed on our devotional service, we then offer mercy. We offer mercy because we freely receive Krishna's mercy through our Guru Parampara. And true mercy consists of offering people the real and lasting solution to the pain and suffering in this material world, which is Krishna consciousness. But we can't give something that we don't have. So therefore, as in verse 15, we must ask the Lord to bless us with the desire and the strength to study Shastra, to chant our rounds, to participate in kirtan, to talk and to hear about the Lord's sacred pastimes, to associate harmoniously with devotees, and to offer healthy vegetarian food to the Lord for sanctification, and then to distribute it and share it with others. I'd like to share with you a prayer that has been adapted from the 7-step prayer, which is a prayer that's recited by people in recovery and in 12-step programs. Krishna, I offer myself to you just as I am. I pray that you remove every obstacle that stands in the way of my devotional service and usefulness to you. Grant me the strength to give up my attachment to the body and anything related to the body. Grant me the benediction that in time, my heart and my mind may be always fixed on you. So it's rather a short class because I'm hoping for participation. But in closing, I would like to share with you the words and the prayers and the blessings of our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And this is from the Science of Self-Realization, Chapter 7, Returning to the Eternal Religion. And I'm reading from pages 242 and 243. Srila Prabhupada arrives in America. On September 18, 1965, as the Indian steamship Jaladuta nears Boston's Commonwealth Pier, Srila Prabhupada prays to the Lord Krishna in a moving poem, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. And I'm just sharing excerpts of stanzas 5, 6, 7, and 8. And these are Srila Prabhupada's words. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service, O Lord? I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them about your message. All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will. And therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives them with submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message. Hare Krishna. So I sit here grateful for the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, for the mercy of the Lord, and begging, as it says in this verse, and I will read it one more time. Therefore, O Lord, O Transcendence, kindly help us by giving us the power to execute Bhakti Yoga so that we can control our restless minds and fix them upon you. We are all infected by your illusory energy. Therefore, we are very attached to the body, which is full of stool and urine, and to anything related with the body. Except for devotional service, there is no way to give up this attachment. Therefore, kindly bestow upon us this benediction. Haribol, I hope that I've offered something in another short class that inspires all of you now to share with me so that I can learn and to speak to this verse and to how we are living out our devotional service and how we are depending on Krishna to bestow us with the ability, with the strength and the power to execute Bhakti Yoga.
Comment to the chat.
I am looking at the chat now. Hare Krishna. Yasudev Das Prabhu. He stated, "Thank you for encouraging us to reach out to others and to pray for the ability to do so. It is my personal experience that communication with the non-devotional jivas is a spiritual skill endowed by the Lord when we pray sincerely for the service." Sorry, I still can't speak. My voice is on. Oh, Hare Krishna. I hope you feel better soon, Prabhu. Jiva Pandit, are you there? Can you share something with us? I don't know if he's able. He may be engaged in his service.
I have a few small items to contribute. Excuse me. Thinking about point you touched on, that our material attachments become an impediment to our progress in Krishna consciousness. So prayer is one of the means by which we seek help to release us from such impediments. Prayer is performed in a variety of ways and for various reasons, but it's one of the processes of devotional service. The 9 processes is to offer prayers. And this verse particularly is a prayer for help. I was reading Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on this particular verse, and his translations typically are a little different than Srila Prabhupada's. But Srila Prabhupada's purports tend to incorporate Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments. In his translation, he says, always, excuse me, "O Lord, may we give up the conception of me and mine concerning this miserable body, so difficult to give up. Please give us concentration on you, which is rati for you, O transcendental Lord." So in his translation, it mentions the word rati, which is not expressly stated in the text itself, but he also utilizes this in his commentary. He says, you should make our minds give up other things and make our minds absorbed in you. What is yoga? It is individual rati or bhava for you. Or it should be natural, just as attraction for material objects is natural for others. So there is one famous prayer in which the devotee is praying that his mind may be attracted to Krishna, just as a young boy or a young girl are attracted to one another. And that same natural sort of way is praying to become attracted to Krishna. And here he's saying that this is yoga to be connected with Krishna by our individual rati or bhava. So rati Srila Prabhupada says in it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, 19th chapter. There's a purport to text 177 in which Srila Prabhupada talks a little bit about Rati. Rati is discussed in many places. You can find it all over in Nagari devotion, but he says the word Rati is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. Yatam mas te vantar lakhyate Rati lakshanam mumukshu prabhritinam ched bhaved esha ratir nahi. When a tenderness of the heart is manifested, there is rati, or attachment. But those who are interested in being liberated from material bondage will not manifest this tenderness. This attachment is not like material attachments. When one is free of material contamination, attachment for Krishna's service awakens and is called rati. In the material world, there is attachment for material enjoyment, but this is not rati. Transcendental rati can be awakened only on the spiritual platform. Ecstatic love for Krishna, prema, is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows: Samyan Mashratanita Smanto Mamat Vati Shayantika Bhava Saeva San Jaratma Budhai Prema Higat Ite. When the heart is completely softened and devoid of all material desires, and when one's emotional feelings become very strong, one becomes very much attached to Krishna. Such purified emotion is known as pure love. So, Rati, Bhava, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, this text is essentially a prayer for such Rati or Bhava. Bhava is also described in Nagari devotion. And even from Bhagavad Gita, we have discussion of Bhava. Srila Prabhupada explains that Bhava is the preliminary stage of transcendental love for Krishna. Real love for Krishna is called prema. That's the highest perfectional stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, but Bhava is preliminary to that. It hasn't yet become completely perfected. But so here the prayer is for Rati, for attachment, attraction and attachment, and the preliminary stages of pure love. And he says it should be natural, just as attraction for material objects is natural for others. So, attachment to Krishna is actually natural to the living entity. In the materially conditioned state, it seems foreign, but it is actually natural to us. But it is not like the attachment of the material world. Mundane attachments are a different animal, but it is intrinsic to the living entity. It's a natural part of us. We have naturally a propensity to become attracted to Krishna, attached to Krishna, and to love Krishna. And to come to that stage of prema, to actually acquire love for Krishna, is the perfectional stage and the perfection of human life and the solution to every problem of life. in early stages of a devotee's progress in Krishna consciousness, they sometimes struggle to try to adhere to the principles and to try to keep their mind somehow fixed on Krishna. But their mind is unsettled, it's disturbed and distracted by so many mundane objects. So there is initially a struggle, and sometimes it appears to devotees that there just is no platform, no plateau of peace without struggle, that it's a constant fight to try to be Krishna consciousness. But by that practice, by constantly struggling, we actually do soon come to a platform, a point at which the endeavor for Krishna consciousness is no longer a struggle, but that it manifests naturally. And when it becomes attachment for Krishna, then the mind is naturally drawn towards Krishna rather than so many mundane objects. Then Krishna consciousness becomes easy and very natural. It's no longer a struggle, but the natural tendency is just simply to always take shelter of Krishna in devotional service. So those who have arrived there will understand that, and those who have not have something to aspire for. But in that condition, no more struggling, but a just peaceful union with Krishna in devotional service. Very nice thing. And if we can come to the stage of actually prema, pure love for Krishna, all of our life's problems are completely solved. Then we cannot help but think of Krishna at every moment, and every activity will be somehow service of Krishna naturally. We become obsessed with Krishna, infatuated with Krishna, just as lovers become infatuated with one another. They can't think of anything else day and night, even in dreaming, always preoccupied with the lover. So a devotee becomes firmly attached to Krishna's lotus feet, and his mind cannot be diverted even for a moment. So that's the perfection that we are striving for. And it's not something foreign to us. It's built in. It's a natural aspect of us. It just needs to be uncovered, and gradually it becomes uncovered by the practice of Krishna consciousness, by following the prescribed process, which we have from Krishna himself and from our acharyas, described everywhere in Shastra. Gradually we are purified, and that original pure nature manifests fully. Most essentially, you have to engage in hearing and chanting the Lord's holy names. That process particularly is prescribed for this age. Lord Chaitanya says, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, that by that process of hearing and chanting, the heart is cleansed, it's purified of all kinds of contamination. That's what's required. It takes a little time, but if we persist, the result is guaranteed. Anyway, that's some of my thoughts. I don't really have a lot more to contribute.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Your thoughts are always welcome. They're always profound. They're always instructional. And my practical experience being at the beginning of this process and has been that in the beginning, yes, it was a big struggle for me to chant my rounds, even to build to the 16 rounds. And it just seemed like, am I ever going to get there? Am I ever going to have this in an organized fashion? Am I ever going to be able to wake up early enough to do this and not be, my mind scattered and all over the place? Cooking was a big challenge because I was obviously used to tasting and thinking about me and the people related to me in terms of what I was serving, not about Krishna. And as you said, Taraka Prabhu, just by praying and asking the Lord, just help me to be consistent. Just help me to be consistent. Help me to find my footing in this, in chanting my rounds and hearing and showing up for class, in reading and studying, not being distracted by, the dust bunnies in the corner and, I have to run and get groceries, but that this is sacred time to sit down and to read Shastra, in following the instructions of my Guru Maharaj and creating a sacred space in my home where these things occur, so that I know when I am in this room, this is set aside. This is time with the Lord. This is time spent in devotional service and in the presence of the Lord. And it's sacred and it cannot be stepped upon or interfered with. All of these things come over time. And I can tell you that now, even if I'm looking at a recipe, say online, my mind automatically begins to convert it to, yes, so they're asking for garlic, that would be this much hing. How can I make this pleasing to the Lord? How is this something that Krishna will enjoy? And therefore, that I will so be grateful to enjoy the remnants of it. That waking up early in the morning now is a joyful process to chant my rounds. And if for some reason something is going on and I can't chant all 16 early in the morning and it gets broken up during the day, it almost feels fractured to me. And though I'm still grateful to get through all my rounds, I just love being in that quiet time in the morning early, when the house is quiet, when the world is quiet, and I can chant my rounds and really, really feel the joy of being in the presence of the holy name, which is non different from Krishna. You spoke about some of the benefits of this, and I think about the qualities of a Vaishnava, and how, a Vaishnava begins to perceive the material world as a temporary manifestation that repeats over and over, and doesn't get attached, doesn't have these attachments, and doesn't envy anyone's current situation in the material world, and doesn't get agitated or criticize anyone unnecessarily. Sama, that a Vaishnava is not excited or depressed by external events, but remains equipoised in material happiness or distress, and realizes that his or her actual wealth lies in Krishna consciousness. And in the Christian world, that is, set your treasure up in the spiritual world. Everything here is temporary and illusory. Sarvapakaraka, self-forgetting to serve the Lord, attending to eternal happiness of others, and becoming everyone's well-wisher and best friend. All of these things, steady intelligence in the face of so-called material opportunity and detachment from material endeavors and pursuits, because we understand the pleasure of serving the Lord and pleasing him. All of these things come in time and are, like you said, the benefit of practicing Krishna consciousness, the regulative principles, hearing and chanting, showing up in Srimad Bhagavatam class and listening, and gaining understanding and intelligence through the benediction of the Lord and our acharyas. So all of these things, always acting in the service of Lord Krishna and being aloof from ordinary worldly affairs, these are benedictions, these are benefits. And in this verse, in this 15th verse of the 19th chapter of Canto 5, this is what we're asking for. Kindly help us by giving us the power to execute Bhakti Yoga so that we can control our restless minds and fix them upon you. So thank you for sharing that. I see that Jagannath Pandit has joined us. I see that Dasya Prem has joined us. Yashoda Devi is here. Nagari Krishna is here. I don't know if he and Jiva Pandit might be engaged, as Yashodev said, in milking the cows or caring for the cows. But please participate. We have a lot of time. Please share with us how you've grown in Krishna consciousness. Oh, Yashoda Devi, please share with us. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you very much for the elaborate explanation. This is Hari Chakra.
Oh, Hari Chakra. Hello.
I'm actually listening with Yashoda and on her phone. During your deliberation, you kept emphasizing on how we have to be able to elevate ourselves with the power of the mind. You made a quotation where Krishna states that the controlled mind is the best of friends, and the uncontrolled mind is our greatest enemy. And you also made mention a couple of times about how we should not be attached to I and mine, because they don't help us. There is a biblical text in Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 to 22, where it states about the fruits of the spirit and the fruits of the flesh. Now, when we talk about these things, we know dull matter doesn't produce anything, because Prabhupada has made us understand that life comes from life. So, which means anything that has life is the one that can produce life. So if we talk about the fruits of the flesh, how can the flesh, which is dull matter, produce fruits? So I want you to go a little bit further and explain how it actually means to get rid of this I and mine, because other than that, sometimes we made a great mistake that even in the course of practicing devotional service, this I and mine overshadows us. Like a lot of devotees will go around, oh, my spiritual master, my service, my this. So by the time we realize the I and mine, even though you are trying to practice spiritual life, but it still overshadows us. So I want you to give a little bit further explanation about this concept of I and mine, and how we can be able to actually make manifest the actual fruits of the spirit. And
Hari Chakra, forgive me 1 second. I want to get a book. Would you just say for me again the verses that you were quoting from Galatians?
Yeah, Galatians chapter 5, from verse 19.
So I'm just going to share those verses. And this is from the Message. So this is a very updated translation. It's obvious what kind of life develops out of trying to get your own way all the time. Repetitive, loveless, cheap sex, stinking accumulation of mental and emotional garbage, frenzied and joyless grabs for happiness, trinket gods, magic show religion, paranoid loneliness, cutthroat competition, all-consuming yet never satisfied wants, a brutal temper, an impotence to love or be loved, divided homes, divided lives, small-minded and lopsided pursuits, the vicious habit of depersonalizing everyone into a rival, uncontrolled and uncontrollable addictions, ugly parodies of community, and I could go on. But what happens when we live God's way? He brings gifts into our lives much the same way that fruit appears in an orchard. Things like affection for others, exuberance about life, serenity. We develop a willingness to stick with things, a sense of compassion in the heart, and a conviction that a basic holiness permeates things and people. We find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, not needing to force our way of life, able to marshal and direct our energies wisely. Legalism is helpless in bringing this about. It only gets in the way. So these are the verses that Hari Chakra was speaking about in the Christian Holy Bible. And to elaborate a little more, I think I spoke a little bit about it, and maybe not enough, that, like he said, when I have I in mind, even in that subtle way, when it weaves its way like a weed and starts to choke my bhakti creeper, so I'm thinking, this is my spiritual master. When I'm asking someone, so who's your spiritual master? Because now I'm comparing. And I'm trying to think, well, how holy are you really? Who's your spiritual master? When I think it's my service and I'm doing it the best, or the opposite of that, when I feel like, oh, I'm so just beleaguered and beaten down by this service. It's always me. It's only me. I'm the only one who really cares. I'm the only one who's really practicing Krishna consciousness, and everybody else is just slacking. Yeah, those are some very subtle ways that the weeds of material attachment to I and mine can really start to permeate into Krishna consciousness. And you'll see the fruits of that. You'll see non-harmonious interaction with devotees. You start to judge people. You start to criticize unnecessarily. You start to think big I, little you, and those things, they have no place in Krishna consciousness. And so again, by my unaided will, in the absence of prayer and consistent sadhana, this is what's going to happen. Because at the top of my game, with the best of intentions, if I am not clinging to the lotus feet of the Lord and the spiritual master, I am going to sow confusion. I am not going to be harmonious or joyful. And this material, illusory world is going to snake its way into my practice of bhakti yoga. So the fruits of the spirit, and we are spirit souls, we are parts and parcels of Krishna. And we know that this is a gift that we have in bhakti yoga. The fruits of the spirit, they show in kindness, in harmony, in what Taraka Prabhu spoke about, in it's a growing desire to serve and connect with the Lord, to care for and protect the devotees, to share Krishna consciousness in some small way with everyone that we meet. I've shared in the past, I go through the grocery store and I'm singing, I'm chanting as I go through the grocery store. And I'm doing it, I'm not yelling it, but I'm doing it loud enough, if people walk by, because all that crazy like pop music is playing in the grocery store all the time. And people walk by and they'll look. And some people actually, they're like, what is that you sing? Some people just look or they stop. And some people look at me like, but they're still hearing, At the Mantra Lounge in Philadelphia, I remember that they would distribute prasadam in one of the most degraded areas of Philadelphia. And Nagaraj and Natai once shared how they would basically just sort of run in and give, they're not trying to preach, but they knew that just distributing prasadam, this food that has been offered and accepted by the Lord and spiritualized, we don't know, maybe lifetimes, maybe in that lifetime, maybe lifetimes down the road, someone could be touched by the Lord in the heart and could just the tiniest bit of dust might be swept away from their heart. And so finding and developing means to carry out Srila Prabhupada's mission, that the holy name should be chanted in every town, every village, all over the world, that we should be bringing Krishna consciousness in some small way to every encounter. And we can only do this if we are aware and constantly begging the Lord, constantly begging for the mercy of our acharyas, of the spiritual master, that we get out of the way, that we're freed of the bondage of self and this idea of I and mine and grasping and grabbing. So I hope that elaborated in some way Hari Chakra.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And like I was saying, sometimes the real thing, the real process is like the whole process of sadhana bhakti. How we have to come to the temple, serve the deities, what we chant our rounds, and all these stuff that we have that the Srila Prabhupada has given us. Sometimes we miss the point because ultimately the bottom line lies in the interaction of each other, ourselves, the devotional, interaction between the devotees. But we sometimes we just think too much to the extent that we overlook the interaction between ourselves, and then we jump. Oh, I want to serve Radha Damodara. I want to do this thing for the deities, and forgetting about we are not even seeing Krishna. So, like the biblical quotation that says that somebody says he loves God, but he hates his brother. How can that be love of God? So, there are a lot of things that happens in our day-to-day devotional life that if we are not very careful, we might miss the point. And I'll give an example. How important it is for interacting with each other. The interaction with each other, how very important it is in our spiritual life. Like the biblical quote, when you read the Acts of Apostles, chapter 10, verse 10, Peter was fasting. And in the course of fasting, he fell asleep. He fell into trance. And then he saw a sheet of board being lowered from heaven. And on that sheet, there were so many different types of animals. And a voice from the sky says, Peter, arise, kill and eat. And Peter said, no, I have not eaten anything common and unclean. And the voice said, what I have cleansed, no man can call unclean. So arise, kill and eat. And when Peter woke up from the trance, he was confused. Why is the Lord instructing me to eat this thing? And then the answer to that dream, Peter was deliberating what that dream means. Then if you go to verse 27 of the same chapter 10 of Acts of Apostles, verse 27, then the meaning of the dream was revealed to Peter. So what happened was 2 people came to his door and knocked, and they said, hey, Cornelius said you should come with us. So Peter rose up and went with them. And when they went to the house of Cornelius, he saw that Jews and Gentiles were mixed together. And everything was very nice. So then Peter said, oh, thank God that the Lord has now revealed to me that every human being he has created cannot be deemed as common and unclean. So what I'm trying to bring, the point I'm trying to bring here is that even though the Lord revealed to Peter through animals, but in actuality, the Lord was trying to emphasize to Peter that relationship between each other. Because during that time, all the Jews were thinking that the Gentiles were outcast. They were common people. They were common, unclean. You cannot even associate with them. So similarly, if in the course of practicing our devotional life, if we don't be able to learn how to come to the level, such humility, where we can recognize everybody's activity that is performing as very important in our personal lives to help us. The Lord or Guru and Krishna has given me this personality so that I can learn something from this person. If we don't come to that level of humility, then it becomes very difficult that we may end up missing the point. Even though we may be doing all the process of sadhana bhakti, but we may be missing the central point of perfect association with each other. And that's why Srila Prabhupada himself was saying that the way you can please me is to what? Cooperate very nicely with each other. That is the way to please me. So yeah, you really hit the nail on the head. Thank you very much. I always want to listen to you when you speak, because you mostly bring us to to learn about the practical aspects of our devotional service. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hari Chakra. I'm thank you. I always feel like I'm just stumbling and bumbling, but I'm grateful that I'm offering something that is useful. And just in line with that, I do want to share again from Science of Self-Realization, when you spoke about, yes, we don't look down on one another or anyone, because isn't it said in our Shastra that actually when we reach the highest level, we will see Krishna in every living jiva, the dog and the dog eater, the brahmana, the tree. We'll see Krishna because it is all part and parcel of Krishna. But I want to read this, and this is again from Returning to the Eternal Religion, and this is Srila Prabhupada's words, verse 3 of that poem and prayer. Most of the population here in America is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. Verse 4, but I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. And he's speaking of Krishna, of our Lord. So I guess if someone like me who raised devoutly Christian, and then also, entangled in the material world, chasing after career and, home and family, and can be brought so gently and gradually by the Lord to this place where I am in Krishna consciousness now, and just wanting more and more and more of this bhakti yoga, of this path, and wanting this creeper to grow, then it's possible for any and everyone. And I think that we need to ask the Lord and beg the Lord for that belief and that faith, so that as we go out into the world, and Hari Chakra was talking about like Jews among Gentiles, we say, oh, we only associate with devotees. You're going to be in contact with other people. And so, yeah, we're not trying to be infected by the material world, but rather to be that light, to be that representation of Krishna consciousness in a very out of balance and damaged world. And hopefully to bring some small taste to people that they want more, that they want to seek the Lord, that they want to know more of Krishna. So that's my prayer. We are at time, but I just see Jagannath Pandit is here. Do you have anything you want to share with us, Prabhu? Agari Krishna is here. I think Agari Krishna is here. He may just be hosting, but do either of you have anything you'd like to share with us? I always gain so much when you share. So please.
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for your wisdom and your keen insight into how to apply Krishna consciousness, and your sincerity is very appreciated. Thank you.
All right, Bo. So we are actually 6 minutes over time. So if everyone is satisfied, hopefully, again, I know I learned a lot this morning. Hopefully I offered something useful. Hopefully I did not offend or, make any gross mistakes. And if there's nothing else and everyone is satisfied, then Ramtaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you.